Welcome back to Author Talk. I'm John Hartness, and I am joined here at Congregate 2023 by the man we affectionately refer to as John the Lesser. Mostly because, well, he's a lot smaller than me. There's a lot less of him.
I see how this is.
Uh-huh. Our guest of honor for this year's Congregate, my friend, my serenading target.
Yes.
Hugo Award winner, Locus Award winner, New York Times bestseller, owner of his own church, and man who successfully married up.
True.
John Scalzi.
True on all counts. I confess all of these things.
Look, anybody who has spent 5 minutes on your social media knows how much you adore your wife.
But I mean, one, because she's fabulous, right? And the second thing about it is, honestly, I've become used to the fact that once they meet Chrissy, my wife, I become their second favorite Scalzi, right? And then
until they meet your daughter.
And then they meet Athena, and I drop to like 3, and then they meet the pets, and then it's a question of if I remain in the top 10 at all, which is fun because I'm very fond of all of that as well.
So, going to talk a little bit about some things that you are reading that you enjoy,
Sure.
some things that you feel like people should read.
Yeah.
We were talking at dinner about a writer that you consider to be the most important of our generation.
Yep.
But first,
Mm-hmm.
your t-shirt.
Yes. You like the t-shirt?
I do like the t-shirt. Do they make it in excessive size?
No, see, the irony of this t-shirt is a big, huge copyright violation. It is, this is fan art that was then put on a t-shirt, which I then bought. Now, these are my characters, right?
Yeah.
The 3 robots are from my brain. But then, of course, Netflix did the design and all that sort of stuff. So I had to pay somebody else to get the t-shirt for the intellectual property that I created. But on the other hand, it's a really cool t-shirt.
It is a really cool t-shirt, and that is, for those of you who may not immediately recognize it, it's from the 3 Robots episode of the first season of Love, Death, and Robots.
That's correct.
The Netflix series, which was my favorite from the first season.
Thank you. I'm very fond of it. I mean, obviously, but the thing that I really like about it is when I wrote the thing, I didn't have a really good visual identity for any of the characters.
Yeah.
And then the folks who did the animation for it did the character designs, and I'm like, yes, yes, in fact, this is pretty cool. And they've really taken off. I mean, KBRC, who is the little orange one right here, you can see. I know that people have tattoos of him now.
Oh, wow.
He's kind of like the mascot for the entire series. And I kind of...
There should be Funko Pops.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I've been Funko Pops, yes.
Get on it, y'all.
Well, but the thing is it's not Funko Pops that you have to convince. I'm sure they would be 100% for it.
Yeah.
You know who it is? It's Netflix.
Netflix.
So Netflix.
You're not getting any scripts in. You're not shooting anything right now. Get with Funko and get us some, what the hell is that thing called?
KVRC.
Get us some KVRC Funko Pops.
Yeah.
Come on, Netflix. It ain't like you got anything else going on right now. We are filming this in the middle of the writer and now actors strike in Hollywood.
A double strike.
Yeah, nobody's working.
Nobody's working.
And
nothing's happening.
No. But there's plenty happening in our writer's world.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, this is a perfect time for everyone to catch up on your reading. I'm just saying, the books are there for you.
Yeah.
We're ready for you. We've been waiting for you.
That's a little ominous, but
I mean, sorry.
yeah, well, it's not as creepy when you say
We've
it
been waiting.
as when somebody who looks like an extra from Sons of Anarchy says it.
I mean, you say it. You say
Yeah.
it. We're waiting for you.
We're waiting for you.
Yes, that's perfect. I love it.
So if people wanted to pick up some really awesome science fiction and fantasy novels, one place where they could maybe go is the Hugo Award nominees.
Yes, in fact, the Hugo finalist lists have come out, and among the best novel contenders, it's actually a very good crop of people.
Yeah, I was just looking at it before we were
Yeah,
taping because I wanted to talk about, more than one
Sure.
of the nominees.
sure, sure. Well, I will tell you the ones that I have read that I've really enjoyed. One, Mary Robinette Cole's The Spare Man, which is tremendous. And if you have, speaking of movies, any sort of movie history at all, then you know about the Thin Man
Yeah.
series of movies, which were,
Yeah.
of course, based on a play and novel. And so what Mary Robinette has done is she's sort of taken that conceit of the Thin Man and put it into space. And it's actually tremendous. And I was so delighted when The Spare Man got the nomination, got onto the finalist list, because I think it kind of flew under the radar a little bit.
Yeah, because this is a release of hers that I didn't hear a whole lot about.
Right, and I think that's sort of, and it's kind of frustrating for me as a reader, and also as a friend, but especially as a reader, it was a little frustrating because it's the sort of book that I think should have gotten more attention. It's got, it's got mystery, it's got a really vibrant characters. The two main characters are a married couple, and the interaction that they have as a married couple is very cool.
That's something that she does better than most anyone in the business.
Yeah.
Is writing loving, faithful married couples.
Right, and I think that is something that is often appreciated. Not necessarily, married, but the idea of the relationships that people have
Yeah.
and how they interact with each other. But she did it in her Lady Astronaut series as well, and it does it here. And I think it's something that absolutely resonates with readers, which is one of the reasons why, despite kind of running silent and running deep when it came out, it has surfaced now in the Hugo finalist list. So
Yeah,
that's something I absolutely recommend.
That's definitely something in her writing that resonates with me.
Sure.
I've been married for, 28 years
Right,
in December.
same here.
Yeah.
28 years as of June.
So, as old guys who have been married for a long time, we don't see positive long-term relationships
Right.
depicted that often in fiction where both characters are fully fleshed out.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing is that I think there's a belief that there's not a lot of inherent drama in that, or that it's not going to be interesting to the readers. And I don't think that that's true. As with anything, it is how it is portrayed. How the characters are interacting with each other. You can, as someone who has been married for 28 years, I can absolutely assure you, you can love someone and be with them and still have a little bit of spice in the way that you communicate with each other and, respond to each other and sort of live your life. So the idea that old married couples are not inherently interesting, it's just a lack of imagination, which again goes back to what Mary Robinette does in the course of her book, is just takes that sort of thesis and chucks it right out the window.
Yeah, and it's been great to see her star kind of
Yeah.
rise in the past few years. I know that you've been very happy about this because y'all are good friends.
We are, and it's very funny because I was just thinking about the first time that I ever met her, which was at the 2006 ReaderCon, which this year's ReaderCon has just happened. And so I was just thinking about how we first met. She had literally just done a couple of short stories. She'd come over from puppetry,
Right.
of all things, to come in to write. And of course, she was a renowned puppeteer. She had gotten awards there. She had been part of the professional group for puppeteers.
Yeah, she was part of the Atlanta Center for Puppetry Arts.
Right, and to excel in one field and just come over to another one and excel in that field too. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it ain't the easiest thing in the world.
No, it isn't the easiest thing in the world.
But I mean, you started publishing fiction relatively, at what some people would call late in life. What a lot of people 40 years ago would say
Yeah.
you're a kid, but
Yeah.
now, how old were you when Old Man's War was your first book, right?
Yeah, Old Man's War was the first novel that came out. It came out when I was 35.
Okay.
Yeah. So so now we are
A few years past that.
18 years later. In 2025 will be the 20th anniversary of Old Man's War, which wow.
Nice. Are we going to get some more of those adorable little hardcovers in like commemorative editions?
We will see. One of the things I've been talking to with Tor is like, the 20th anniversary is coming up. Maybe just spitballing here, we should do some stuff with that because we have 6
There's
books.
a whole series now.
There's a whole series, and it's worth revisiting. And I think people will, want to sort of catch up with that. Be that as it may, we will see. We will see what will happen with that.
I mean, I remember when I was first publishing fiction, I was reading your blog to learn about the industry. I was reading you. I was reading Chuck Wendig, Chris Rush, Dean Wesley Smith, Joe Conrath. I'm still waiting for that money truck to back up to my front door like Joe Conrath promised me. So, Joe, can you check the GPS on the Brinks truck?
The money truck.
But I took a lot of heart in the fact that you were 35 when you published your first novel because I was 37 when I published my first novel.
Well, and this is the thing that I always tell people is like there's no, it's not like being an athlete. There's no point at which you just like I gotta hang it up. As long as your brain's still working, you can start pretty much at any time. The Astounding Award, which is for best new writer in science fiction fantasy, the youngest is like 23 or 24, but the oldest was David Feintuch, and he was 51, right? So
there's time for me yet.
There's time for everyone, and this is, I think, really important. And it was really important for me to actually have gone through all the years of writing that I did before I started writing novels, because one, gave me time to learn my skills, 2, gave me patience, and 3, honestly, when Old Man's War came out and was unexpectedly a huge hit, I had had enough life experience that I didn't all of a sudden freak out, right? I often say to people, if I had been 25 and Old Man's War had come out and it had the success, I would have completely turned into a jerk.
Oh, I hate to be the one to break it to you.
I mean, yes, I know, more of a jerk than I am now. But honestly, the life experience of having done writing, of having had books in nonfiction published before, of having a long-term relationship, of having a child, all of these things centering me so that when unexpected good fortune dropped into my lap, as it did with Old Man's War becoming the success it was, I was centered enough in the rest of my life experience that it didn't, just blow my brain out completely. And to go back to Mary Robinette Cole, I think very much the same thing happened with her. She started off after having a whole professional life in a completely different field, which gave her skills not only in terms of understanding how the professional ebb and flow of things go, but also the people skills that strangely enough you need as a writer to do all the things that you need to do. And so when she got to the point where the Lady Astronaut books came out, and the Calculating Stars, won the Hugo, and it won the Nebula, and I believe it won the Locust Award as well. It was all very much of, yes, this makes perfect sense. Now you put in the work, you have put in the time, you are well known in the community, and now is the time for you to reap the rewards of your professional acumen.
Absolutely. I certainly felt that when I transitioned to writing fiction, that it was very beneficial that I had been married for a while.
Sure.
And that I had had an 18-year career in a completely unrelated field, because similarly, if I'd gotten any kind of literary success or success on the convention circuit in my 20s, I wouldn't have lived to see my 30s. Because at that time of my life, I was not mainlining Coke Zero.
Right. No, it was an entirely different thing.
It was.
And but again, this is my point. There is some value to having life experience. Now, having said that, we have some really spectacular authors who are very young. R.F. Kuang, who's Babel won the Nebula and was #1 New York Times bestselling author. She's still in her mid-20s, right?
R.R. Verdi, who's one of your label mates at Tor,
yes,
with his book, The First Binding. He hasn't hit 30 yet, and is an amazingly talented writer and just a
decent
great person.
Yeah, he and I played D&D together with you as the GM.
Yes, you did.
That was hilarious because I was the grumpy elf and he was the overeager or whatever.
Halfling.
Yes.
And
he almost got killed so many times.
Well, there's a T-shirt based on that game.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I did not know this.
There's now a R.R. Verdi Roll for Yeet T-shirt. Because you were one of the ones yeeting him down the hallway.
This is true. This is true. But again, I mean, it's good to have a mix of folks who are, and this goes back to the Hugos, right? We have people like Mary Robinette who have been nominated before numerous times. We have people like Travis Baldry, who is this not only is his first Hugo nomination for Best Novel, but he is also an Astounding Award finalist for being the best new writer, which is very, very infrequent that combination happens.
It's also a little amusing to those of us who have known Travis for a few years.
Right.
Because Travis is an indie sensation who has gotten picked up, and now the rest of the world sees.
You know what it's like? It's like when, I had a friend who was a musician, and he had gigged for literally decades, right? And then his band took off. He was the guitarist for Bruce Hornsby and the Range.
Yeah, that was all right.
Yeah, and they won the Grammy for Best New Artist. And George, my guitarist friend, literally has been doing it for decades. Has albums out, with Billy and the Blasters and with other bands, and then suddenly after
Best New Artist
after decades, Best New Artist. So yeah, you put that in the mix as well, but that's the way it goes sometimes.
It is, and a lot of the qualifications are different, and you need to do this and that and the other. But there's a really strong group of Hugo finalists this year.
I'm really happy with it.
T. Kingfisher, Ursula Vernon,
for
Nettle and Bone, which last night was awarded the Manly Way Wellman Award at Congregate.
Right, and also I believe was the Locust winner for horror.
I think that book has won every award it's been within a mile of.
Sure. And this is the thing that's really fun about when you look at the nominee field, or you look at the finalist field of any category in any award, right? And you're like, there is not a single person here who won. You would be, if you were a finalist as well, that you'd be like, well, fine, whatever. But the idea that you would, that someone else would take the award would not fill you with rage, but be like, yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Any of us could take it, sort of thing. And this year is very much one of those things where you, just as a reader, you're looking at this field and you're like, yeah, that's pretty solid. Anybody here could take it.
Absolutely. I just looked over the list and I was like, wow, yeah, every name on this list is deserving of the little silver butt plug.
Yeah. No, it's a good list, and like I said, that is the best compliment, because if you are a finalist and your peer group is really solid, then you don't think, I don't deserve to be here. What you think is, oh my God,
we're rocking it.
Yeah, we're rocking. We're all doing very, very well.
Which, by the way, you're also one of the Hugo finalists this year.
What?
Surprise.
I did not know. I will say this about being a finalist this year. One, of course, delighted. Second, I was deeply surprised. For a couple of reasons. Not because, again, it's not false humility, because you know that I don't do false humility.
No. Hell, the man barely does sincere humility.
No, I mean, every once in a while. But the thing was that, one, it was a very strong year for science fiction and fantasy. So the competition was just going to be great no matter what. Secondly, there is a wrinkle for this year in that the Worldcon takes place in Chengdu, China.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are a whole group of Chinese voters who we have no idea what they would be interested in and how they would vote. And as it turns out, among the finalists list in several categories, there are a lot of Chinese nominees, which I think is as it should be.
But not
in the novel, which was very confusing to me. And I would have assumed that we would have had some. But that fact meant is still that there were a whole bunch of voters that we don't know how they would have gone one way or the other. And then finally, the thing about Kaiju, although I'm very proud of it and I think it's a very good book, it is intentionally a light book, right?
Yeah.
It's meant to be humorous, it's meant to be funny, it's meant to be, as I've described it so many times, a pop song. And light entertainment does not always make it to finalist lists. But I also think that this year is reflection of coming out of 3 years of COVID. People are like, give me entertainment as opposed to give me something hard and naughty and complicated.
And also, you have a pretty solid history with the Hugos.
True.
And lighter work.
Yeah.
What's that? You know, teal pants?
Teal pants.
Yeah, that's it.
Red shirts.
Red shirts.
Red shirt. Well, and that's
the first John Scalzi book I got signed.
Oh wow.
At Fantasy whatever that thing was we did
Louisville.
in Louisville with you
yeah.
and me and Ernie Klein.
That
and
was an experience.
Delilah Dawson was
Delilah,
there.
that was the
James
first time I met
Tubb.
Delilah. Yes.
Cadry was there too.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah.
I will say this about that convention. I had the best cream corn I've ever had in my life there.
All right.
That is what I came out of that convention with.
We got a great photo of a pile of us walking back from breakfast, all in sunglasses, hung over as dogs, looking like the Reservoir Dogs cast walking down the streets of Louisville, with me and James Tuck and Kalena Price and Emily Leverett and Sarah Adams, just a fistful of authors. Yeah.
No, and I think you're right. I mean, there is a mode that I do that people do seem to appreciate, but it is kind of interesting. That is a little bit of an outlier when it comes to a lot of award nominations. So, but like I said,
oh yeah, you're the only reason I ever have any hope for winning any of these big awards. Because if your smartassery can get in there, I'm like, okay, well, there's hope for my smartassery.
he can do it. Obviously, I can do it. Well, but that's the whole point. So when they let me know. I was surprised and I was like, well, this is cool. But I felt that way also with the Locus Award, which I won this year. I don't want to say that I was not expecting to win the award, but I will say that the way that I found out was I was in bed and about to fall asleep when I got a text from our friend Mary Robinette that says, congratulations on your Locus Award. And so my response literally was, wait, what? Because I was what? Because I was up against Emily St. Mandel, Emily John St. Mandel. I was up against like so many other books, and I looked at the list and I was like, glad to be here. And so so that was a surprise. So I think the thing is that Kaiju Preservation Society has constantly surprised me by showing up on this, because again, I think it's just the year where people are like, we needed escapism and you did the escapism well.
Literally, having read the book, there's a fair chunk of escaping.
Oh, literally.
Yeah. Literally,
like, oh, we're going to leave the planet and go over to one planet over, one dimension over. So,
Now, we're going to wrap up pretty quickly because
sure.
YouTube, they only want you to go so long, blah,
right.
blah, blah. Algorithms, optimization. My marketing director's back there shooting daggers at me. But you've got another book coming out shortly, and it has my very favorite Scalzi cover ever. And we'll try to get it so that we can kind of picture in picture the cover.
Sure.
But it's called Starter Villain.
Right.
And this feels like perhaps the Scalziest of Scalzi books.
You boil down Scalzi to a thin residue, and this is what you get?
Yeah.
I don't know that I like the way that I just put that, but yes.
I think that we could probably find volunteers to boil Scalzi down.
Oh, I think you could do a raffle, and you could do quite a lot for charity.
All
Render
right, note
Scalzi.
on Kickstarter. Coming soon on Kickstarter.
You're getting this sign.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I agree. The starter villain cover is delightful, and it is one of those ones where literally everyone who's seen it has emitted a high-pitched squeak of delight. Like
Can confirm.
booksellers, librarians, the marketing people. The first time I saw it, I literally just laughed out loud. And so it's one of those times where you're like, you don't judge books on the cover, except maybe this time, because it's...
People say that, and from a publisher, I legitimately get upset when people say that because I pay for those covers.
Right, I want you to judge them.
Better judge them
Right.
because they're not cheap.
And this is the thing that I looked at that cover, I'm like, yep, that's gonna sell. That's gonna sell books because the people will just buy it for the cover. The book is fine too. Don't get me wrong. It's quite satisfactory, but the cover.
What the hell is Starter Villain about?
So-
I've seen the cover.
Yeah,
But I haven't pre-ordered it yet. Sorry. Bitch comes out in like November, right?
No, September 19th.
Well, I'll see if Glennis can get a copy early, and I'll buy it at Dragon Con or something.
All right.
Yeah.
So it's actually very simple conceit, which is down on his luck, everyday Joe finds out that he has inherited his mysterious uncle's business, and that business is supervillainy. Like he's literally like a James Bond kind of villain. And the fun thing about this,
That's not the fun part.
I mean, it is the
Because
fun
that's
part.
hilarious.
Yeah,
to
no,
start
that's
with.
that's the whole thing. Is like this, and I realized that this is part of the Scalzi niche, which is really high concept, and just throw an average person in it and try to make them, figure out what they're gonna do. So, but in this particular case, what you do is that you take this incredibly high concept premise, and you do have people respond to it in a normal sort of way, and you do try to rationalize in some sort of sense why it is that all the supervillain tropes actually might exist. For example, and this is the one I like to give the best example of, there is a volcano there. There absolutely is a volcano there.
There has to be.
There has to be a volcano there. But what is a reasonable justification for the volcano there? If you're a supervillain, why do you want a volcano there?
Because I own every format of Despicable Me.
No.
Oh.
I mean, yes, but the reason that you want a volcano there is geothermal energy.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Yeah. All right.
endless energy draw straight from Mother Earth herself. You don't need to rely on a power grid. You don't have the government tracking how much energy you're drawing, which will, it's like when you're doing your moon laser, will absolutely give you away if you suck up all the power out of the eastern seaboard.
For our viewership, that's also how the cops find your weed.
Yes.
That is 100% how they find you growing 27 plants in your basement.
Yes. When
Because
all
grow lights have I've heard.
You've heard. Yeah, no, you go down and to look at the meter and it's going, yeah, no, that's a thing. Be that as it may, you find the rational reasons for all these tropes, and then you play with them some more.
Yeah.
And so I had a delightful time writing this. It's a lot of fun. The cover is actually relevant. It's not just for show.
Is that cat a character?
I maybe.
Oh my god.
So all I'm saying is, I think people will enjoy reading it. We've been very lucky. It's gotten some very good reviews so far. People who have been reading it in advance seem to have enjoyed it a whole lot. I think the people who like my stuff will really like it. The people who hate my stuff will hate me even more. And at the end of the day, I think that people will be absolutely entertained.
Well, for the people who hate you, they do say that living well is the best revenge.
I'm living very well.
I have seen the pictures of the puppy.
Yes.
Yeah, you're doing all right, bud.
You're doing okay.
Well, thank you so much for taking a few minutes out of your day to talk with me and to show off the glory that is the Heart of the Ocean necklace, which was bestowed upon you. You can watch that video at a different spot on our channel. There will be a link somewhere that our marketing director will make happen. And
I think it's very impressive that we got through the entire thing without drawing attention to it at all, because it's a lovely bauble.
it is, but I don't think that it needs much attention drawn to it. Let's be real, buddy. If it's a choice between our two faces and a necklace, yeah, it's getting the necklace.
Yes, indeed.
All right. Thank you all for watching. This has been Author Talk. I'm your host, John Hartness, and this is my friend John Scalzi. His new book, Starter Villain, comes out the middle of September. So get out there and pre-order it. Now. Go.
Now.
We're done talking. We're finished. Shoo.